This time, let us improve our verbal ability and also as a preparation for the BFP qualifying exam for Fire Officer 1 application process. This is from Walden University. We will study grammar, sentence structure, and types of sentences. Now, definitions and examples of basic sentence elements. So, as a key, yellow bold, this is the subject, that's the subject, while green underlined, that is the verb, while blue italics, that's the object, while pink regular font, that's the prepositional phrase. So, let's go. Independent clause. An independent clause can stand alone as a sentence. It contains a subject and a verb and is a complete idea. That's an independent clause. Example, I like spaghetti. I, the subject, like the verb, and spaghetti, that is the object. The spaghetti is the object. Next, he reads many books. He, the subject, reads the verb, while many books, that's the object. So that is an independent clause. It can stand alone and it has a complete idea. While the opposite is the dependent clause. A dependent clause is not a complete sentence. It must be attached to an independent clause to become complete. This is also known as a subordinate clause. Example, although I like spaghetti. So, there must be a continuation in order to become a sentence, in order to have a complete idea. Next, because he reads many books. So, it must be attached to a independent clause to have a complete idea. Now, subject. What are those subjects? It refers to a person, animal, place, thing, or concept that does an action. Determine the subject in a sentence by asking the question who or what. So that is, in order to determine that it is a subject, it answers the questions who and what or what. Who? I like spaghetti. Who? He reads many books. Verb. The verb expresses what the person, animal, place, thing, or concept does. Determine the verb in a sentence by asking the question, what was the action or what happened? So that is the verb. The verb is the act of the subject. It answers what was the action or what happened. I like spaghetti. So that the word like is the verb. He reads many books. Reads is the verb. The movie is good. Is a linking verb. The be verb is also sometimes referred to as copula or linking verb. Is, are, those was, were, these are the copula or the linking verb. It links the subject. In this case, the movie to the complement or the predicate of the sentence. In this case is good. So the movie is good. The word, the linking verb, the be verb is links the subject to the predicate. How about object? Object refers to a person, animal, place, thing, or object that receives the action. Determine the object in a sentence by asking the question, the subject did what or to whom or for whom. So, the object is the receiver of the action. Again, the object is the receiver of the action. Example, I like spaghetti. What he likes or what he or she likes, then spaghetti. He reads many books. What he reads, many books. So that is, object is the receiver of the action. While this prepositional phrase, a phrase that begins with a preposition, in, at, for, behind, until, after, of, during, and modifies a word in the sentence. A prepositional phrase answers one of many questions. Here are a few examples. Where? When? In what way? So, I like spaghetti for dinner. So, prepositional phrase, it starts or it begins with a preposition for dinner. He reads many books in the library. The phrase in the library is the prepositional phrase because it starts with or begins with the word in. So, these are the basic independent clause, dependent clause, the subject, the verb, the object, and the prepositional phrase. Now let us go with English sentence structure. The following statements are true about sentences in English. A new sentence begins with a capital letter. As always, capital letter. Example, he obtained his degree. A sentence ends with punctuation, a period, a question mark, or an exclamation point. If it is in narrative form, it must end with a period, a question mark if the sentence is a question, and if the sentence is exclaiming or interjecting, then it must be ended with exclamation point. Take note, a sentence must have subject, verb, object, and prepositional phrase. Next, a sentence contains a subject that is only given once. Smith, he obtained his degree. Since Smith is a boy, then he or his. A sentence contains a verb or a verb phrase. So, he obtained. The word obtained is the verb. A sentence follows subject plus verb plus object word order. So that is, always take note that we can say that it is a sentence if it has subject, verb, and object, and at the same time prepositional phrase. A sentence must have a complete idea that stands alone. This is also called an independent clause. So, he obtained his degree. See, he obtained his degree. Now let us go with simple sentences. A simple sentence contains a subject and a verb. It may also have an object and modifiers. The modifiers here can be prepositional phrase. However, it contains only one independent clause. Take note, an independent clause, it has an idea. It has a complete idea. Here, always take note that if it is a yellow highlight bold word, that's the subject. If it is green highlighted and underlined, that's the verb. If it is blue highlighted and in italic font, it's the object, while pink in regular font, it's the prepositional phrase. Example of these simple sentences. She wrote. That's an idea. That's a complete idea. She wrote. There's the subject and the verb. She completed her literature review. So, if the sentence begins with a pronoun she, then the object must start with her or begins with her. Example, she completed her literature review. So the object begins with her. She, her. If he, for a male, he organized his sources by theme. So he is the subject, then organize is the verb, and his sources is the object by theme. Take note, if the prepositional phrase begins with a preposition by, so by theme is the prepositional phrase or also the modifier. Next, they studied APA rules for many hours. They is the subject, that's the preposition they. The subject studied. APA rules is the object, the receiver of the action. For many hours, that's for many hours is the prepositional phrase. So that is a simple sentences. It has subject and verb, and at the same time an object and a prepositional phrase or modifier. Next, let's proceed with compound sentences. A compound sentence contains at least two independent clauses. These two independent clauses can be combined with a comma and a coordinating conjunction or with a semicolon. If this is now the key, if it is yellow highlighted and bold, that's the independent clause. Now, comma or semicolon, that's the pink and regular font, and coordinating conjunction, it's green highlighted and underlined. Let's take this. So the difference between simple sentences and compound sentences, in simple sentences, it has only one independent clause, while in compound sentences, it contains at least two independent clauses. It is being combined by a comma and a coordinating conjunction or with a semicolon. So, example, she completed her literature review. That's an independent clause. Comma, and. So the word and is the coordinating conjunction. And she created her reference list. That is, she created her reference list is also another independent clause. So it's a combination of two independent clauses. Therefore, it is a compound sentences. Another, he organized his sources by theme. Semicolon, then he updated his reference list. So, take note, we can say it is a compound sentences if it is combined, if the two independent clauses are combined by a comma and a coordinating conjunction or with a semicolon. Take note, comma with coordinating conjunction or semicolon alone. Next, another example. They studied APA rules for many hours. Comma, coordinating conjunction, but they realized there was still much to learn. So take note, these are the common examples of coordinating conjunction. There should be comma, and coordinating conjunction such as and but. Or you can remove that by placing semicolon alone. He organized his sources by theme, semicolon, Then he updated his reference list. And they studied APA rules for many hours, but they realized there was still much to learn. So these are simple sentences and compound sentences. So in the next presentation, we will proceed or go with complex sentences.